Okay, I'll call the regular meeting of Hanwell Council together for July to order for July 17th, 2024. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda, please?
I, Councillor McKenzie, move to approve the agenda.
And we're going to remove the CAO Treasurer's report.
No, that's not.
No, that's not
Right
yet.
ahead. Yeah.
I, Councillor Hyslop, second.
Okay. Any questions, comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded. Motion carried, thank you. And we will remove the CEO Treasurer's report from the consent section. So we'll go on to the disclosures of interest. Any disclosures, Council?
No.
Okay, no public input or inquiries. And we do have a presentation from the CRSC. So I'm going to turn the floor over to those guys and they can give us a good presentation.
Alright, thank you, Mayor and Council. Hi, my name is Mona Parks. I'm one of the planners with the Capital Region Service Commission. We have received an application to rezone PID 75057406 from residential to rural to allow the applicant to operate a contractor's yard on the property. So looking at the map here, you can see the subject property. It's within a subdivision. This is located in an area characterized by low-density residential development. It's just off the Mazaroll Settlement Road. Next slide. This is an excerpt from the zoning map. The entire subdivision is currently zoned as residential, and then surrounding it is largely zoned rural. The area is mostly low-density residential. Even there is that section that's zoned industrial right now. Looking at maps, it looks like that is also just a low-density residential house. Next slide. So based on site visits to the property, you can see more the residential characteristic of the neighborhood. We also noticed that the community mailboxes are located right outside the driveway to the subject property. He has had a temporary use application and has already built the garage that he would be working out of. So now he's looking to rezone the property to be in compliance with the plan. Next slide. So for consultation, we solicited comments from the Department of Environment and Local Government, Department of Transportation and Infrastructure, Department of Justice and Public Safety, Department of Natural Resources and Energy Development, the Department of Education and Early Childhood Development, and the Department of Health. Of the departments that we did receive comments from, the main concerns were that any decision must account for the statements of public interest regulation, and that the proposed use could cause nuisance to neighbors from specifically noise and dust. Next slide. So when we look at the objectives, policies, and proposals of the plan, we're provided with two different perspectives. One supports the maintenance of attractive and safe neighborhoods by discouraging incompatible uses into established residential areas. The other provides that certain non-residential uses are intrinsic to rural areas and diversify the local economic base and should be permitted in residential zones. And then when we look at the statements of public interest regulation, there are 5 different topics that are covered by the regulation. However, settlement patterns is really the most relevant to the rezoning application, and particularly the settlement pattern statements number 1 and 4 need to be considered as we move through the rezoning process, and they are to promote efficient developments and land use patterns that are in the best interest of the province, local government, and residents in the long term, and to avoid development and land use patterns that may cause environmental or health and safety issues. So as we move through the process, these are things that we need to keep in our mind. Next slide, please. So the next steps would be that the Hanwell rural community can proceed with the rezoning process for PID 75057406 by resolution by setting the public hearing for August 21st, 2024 during the regular meeting of council and having the public hearing advertised per section 111 of the Community Planning Act, directing the CRSC to prepare the bylaw amendment, and directing the clerk to request in writing the views of the Planning Review and Adjustment Committee for the written reviews of the bylaw. Thank you.
Okay, any questions, Council? motion for item 6, please?
I guess I have a question, but,
Okay.
setting a public meeting for during a council meeting, is that really, we've not ever done that before.
Yeah, we did.
We have, and after,
They're usually quite,
no, after the situation that we had in the industrial park, that was the judge's ruling that
Oh, was
we were
it?
not following correctly, and they had to be a public meeting that we held instead of like previous when it was the Capital Regional Service Commission.
I thought there would be a different date, was all.
Would we hold that at a council meeting or at a different date?
It was the last time we did it was at a council meeting.
I think you can technically do either, so long as it is a meeting that is held by council, and by resolution, council sets the meeting.
We may have quite a few people show up to that, if there's any concern,
Well,
residents in the
it
subdivision,
was
so.
just time where I was thinking of
Yeah.
anything else, just the amount of time it would take at a council meeting.
If we did the public meeting at 6, they should give enough time for a council meeting at 7.
Yeah, that's doable, I would think, yeah.
True.
No, we could.
We do have time limits, do we not?
Not for
Council
something,
meeting?
not for something like that.
Okay, I can just,
So somebody might want to amend that, or change the motion before we read it then. We do it at 6 o'clock rather than 7.
As long as that's what's read in the motion, yeah.
That good? Can I get somebody to read that motion, please?
Yeah, okay, I'm fine. So I, Councillor Mackenzie, be it resolved that the Council of Hanwell Rural Community hereby directs that the clerk request in writing the written views of the Capital Regional Service Commission Planning Review and Adjustment Committee with respect to the rezoning application for bid 7505-7406 to be made within 55 days, and that the public notice requirements of section 111 of the Community Planning Act be fulfilled, that the appropriate bylaw to amend the Rural Community of Hanwell Rural Plan Bylaw 11-2016 be prepared, and that the regular council meeting of Wednesday, August 21st, 2024 begin at 6 p.m. at council chambers in the Hanwell Municipal Office be set as the time and place for the consideration of objections and support for the proposed bylaw.
Seconder?
I, Councillor Holt, will second the motion.
Any questions, comments, concerns?
Quick question, are we sure that's in the Hanwell rural plan area, or is that in the Kingsclear Local Service District?
My apologies, that is in the Kingsclear Local Service
Yeah,
District.
I thought so. Should we?
You'll have to amend the motion, because it's not already been seconded.
So should we amend that motion then?
Yeah, that would be the best way to
And
do
we
it.
all should hold a special meeting at 6 rather than the regular council meeting at 6, because the regular council meeting is scheduled for 7, right?
The question though from, is here about the,
Kingsclear LSD World Community.
it's the rural plan bylaw 11-2016. Doesn't include that zone.
That's right, because it's under the Kingsclear zoning plan.
Do we have a number for the Kingsclear zoning bylaw? Look it up.
Yeah, get it off to the Regional Service Commission website.
Yeah, it wouldn't, just take a second.
It's 06-KNG-041-00.
So somebody should request to amend that motion, substituting Hanwell Rural Plan Bylaw 11-2016 with the, this Kingsclear Planning Area Rural Plan Regulation Act, regulation with the number.
Okay,
What
I
was it?
can
if you can make that amendment motion.
do that, I think. Councillor Bringlow, I put forward a motion to amend
Motion on the floor.
the motion on the floor to remove the reference to the rural community of Hanwell Rural Plan Bylaw 11-2016 and replace it with the Kingsclear Planning Area Rural Plan Regulation 06 KNG-041-00.
I, Councillor Mackenzie, will second it.
Okay, any questions, comments, concerns? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Great, motion carried.
It was a good catch.
Yeah, real good
That
catch.
was a good catch.
Okay, thank you.
It's the amended motion. Just now call for the question on the amended motion.
Yep, okay, we'll call for the question on the amended motion, please. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those contrary minded? Motion carried, thank you. Okay, moving on to item 7, business arising from the consent section. It would be the CAO
Thank you.
treasurer's report. Thanks, guys, appreciate your time.
Okay, so, with this quarterly report on the solar, I contacted Clearwater, Powers.
Clear Power.
Clear Power. Clearwater, that's a Grammy fishing. So I contacted them today to ask them what their solution could be. They are going to contact the app to see if there is a safe way that we can possibly put it on our website, and then it would just be rolling every day on our website. He said that if they feel they can't do it safely, then they will come up with something else. Maybe we'll just do the reports or whatever, so.
Like quarterly.
I think I do not want to be doing a daily
No.
report on this, but that is council's decision. The Ombuds office has asked me to come up with a solution, and they gave me 2 options, either do the app or do these reports kind of thing. Now, keeping in mind the Ombud can only give recommendations. It does not mean that council has to abide by them, so I guess until I know more, they were hoping to, I was hoping that they might be able to tell me in time for tonight, but I will bring it back. We will be having a special meeting here shortly to deal with something else, so I can bring it forward to that meeting.
Councillor McKenzie.
If it's not possible to do the, just the read-only mode on the website or something embedded like that, I think quarterly is reasonable for something like that, especially since, pardon me, like for the winter, there's a large part of the year that just things aren't really gonna change all that much. So it wouldn't make sense to be doing even monthly reports, it makes sense, it's just too much. It's an unnecessary burden on staff, it's on staff to have to do that, in my opinion.
Yeah. So the other solution we had talked about was possibly doing a tablet and having it at the front where people could come in. We did ask the applicant if that would be suffice, that they could come in and look at it daily if that was their choosing, and they said there was no way they were going to do that. So that's what they told the ombudsman. So I guess
It may be worth at some point looking into doing that anyway, even if it's not specifically for a resident that's complaining about this. It'd be nice to just be able, people in general be able to see it. You can run something what's called a kiosk mode. So it basically just shows things like on a cycle and shows what it's done for the month or the year or whatever.
yeah.
And shows how much not just how much power we're making, but also how much we use and when we do export and import. But it shows all that on graphs. It's really neat.
Okay. So yeah, I can bring back additional information next time.
Just, Councillor Heisler, just a quick question on what do other, I guess maybe municipalities do with their solar?
So I was told by the ombudsman that New Maryland, they have solar and their app is a read only. So they have it on their website or whatever, so that's what I wanted to find out. Because when I was talking to Clear Power earlier and had mentioned what the resident was asking for, because they had said the link or whatever, and at the time, the person I was talking to said, you know, like, do not be giving out your credentials, kind of thing. So I don't know enough about technology. I was taking the word from them, so I had stated that. Anyway, so we'll look into it further. So I did have the possible motion on here, but if you want to wait until the next meeting, until I know more information, then that's the way we could possibly go.
I don't understand why we're even talking about this tonight. It was a request, as you said, the Ombudsman's office can ask us to do this. It's not a requirement, and I mean, I see the point of like New Maryland and other municipalities doing it in a positive manner so that you can see, you know, how things are going and in a way to promote solar power. But I mean, I don't feel that we should think that we need to feel obligated to do something we're not comfortable with just to appease someone else. I mean, this is not how we really want to do anything, let alone, you know, this project or any other. I mean, we want to do it in a way, if we decide we want to do it, you know, that is still council's decision. And they're only making a recommendation, and we should take it as that, I believe.
And when I was talking to Clear Power, I also asked them if there was a cost to all of this, so I will know all of that information as well.
Did we check with our computer people to see if that possibility would lead to somebody having a backdoor into our system?
Well, that's what they
reasons?
were going to contact the company to see if there's any way that, when it's in a read-only, if it could ever be hacked or whatever, because nowadays there's many hackers out there, I guess, so we want to just be...
I don't think anyone should be able to go directly into our files. I mean, if they want to report, like you say, quarterly or something like that, you know, that's one thing. But so that people can kind of just have access to our information anytime they want it is not really
So,
the way to go.
Yeah, I don't know how secure that would be. Again, I'm no technology wizard, but I think it's something worth inquiring to find out if there's any, you know, security risk on doing something like that. So.
Yeah,
Well-
just, sorry.
Being that New Maryland has it as read only, would it not be prudent just to ask them, like, the security questions that you're
Well,
concerned about, or
That may never come up in Maryland, who knows?
no, so...
we could initiate?
I actually, because the Ombudsman had mentioned this to me, and I said, you know, like, one, I don't think that they have the same company, so there could be two different apps kind of thing. And I said, just because one municipality does something doesn't mean that that is something that we have to do either. So I'm not concerned about somebody else's security, I'm concerned about ours. So I think that we just need to get a little bit more information so that you guys can decide what you would like to do going forward.
Yeah, I just would caution with the website approach with it. And just because other municipalities are doing it doesn't necessarily mean it's safe. There are a lot of things on the web that are completely unsafe and they get hacked all the time, especially if you look at municipalities that are getting like ransomware and stuff like that. What happens is they go in through one spot that they find something's not patched somewhere, whatever, and they go in there and what's called lateral moves. So they go into the website there and then they get into something else and then they get into somewhere else. And they keep going through your files until they get right into our network. So you gotta be very careful of how that stuff is set up. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. And just one other thing to clarify too is that the apps that are for these products and stuff like that aren't from the vendor, like it's not Clear Power's or any other company's app. It's the manufacturer that works to contract through the app, like Enphase, their app is called Enlighten. And that's the one that I use personally and for my home setup. And I'll be frank that it's not particularly secure and it crashes a lot. It's almost like an afterthought. They put so much work into the hardware that the monitoring things and stuff like that, even though it's one of the most biggest companies for this in the world, they just don't care about the app, so they don't maintain it very well. And that could lead potentially to security vulnerabilities, so just something to keep in mind.
So I really just wanna make sure that there's no way if we do this, one, if we put it on our website, if it continues to crash and then we are calling our IT people or whoever, and it end up being a cost to our taxpayers to fix it, I don't think that is using our taxpayers' dollars efficiently. Two, security reasons, I want to really make sure that we are safe there, so I think it would be best if we didn't do this motion and you just give me another week or so to get the details from the company and from the manufacturer and stuff, and I'll bring it back to you.
We could still post a quarterly report. That's just we're
Yeah.
reading the information and putting on our,
That would be the most secure way of doing it too, and the least work on staff's part.
right. So I think we can do that, and if we can,
To me, having all these systems and reports and everything else accessible to the public, it scares me. The thing that we have to take a look at is time management with our staff. You're gonna be making phone calls to find this out or that out, or whatever. To me, it makes perfect sense, simply say, we'll post it quarterly. And it's done. Why do we actually have to take a look at finding out, well, if I do this, or I do this, or I do this, or I do this, what is it going to affect? Is it going to open us up to, computer hacking or anything like that? We could just simply put this to bed tonight, direct you to do so with this motion, and it's done.
Good, yeah.
The applicant wants it daily, and
No, it's not reasonable.
That's frivolous.
doing it daily.
that's just not reasonable.
I would just leave it for now, and then revisit it next month. I mean, we can still do, decide to do a quarterly report, or we could decide to do something else, but I would just leave it now.
But I kinda like the idea of doing the quarterly report and that's it, put it to bed, we don't have to worry about it, then we don't have to worry about a security leak,
I'm not
there's
saying
no
we're
issues
considering
there.
the other, I'm just saying it would give us time to have all our information and decide for sure that it's quarterly, even if we want to go quarterly.
Yeah, but we can go quarterly, I mean, that's,
You can't always
that's just,
control.
We can always adjust if in turn we have enough time managed, or time to
No, whatever you want to do.
pose those questions.
I just think, we may decide to do it annually, we may decide to do it seasonally, I mean, we may not decide to do it quarterly. It's our information that, we don't have to post how much gas we use in the truck.
so what is council's wishes? Do we wanna make a motion or leave it to the next meeting?
Motion will second it.
I, Councillor Holt, direct and authorize the clerk to post a quarterly report from our solar network system on our website.
I, Councillor McKenzie, second it. And just as a note, like Deputy Mayor said, if we do need to adjust that later, if it ends up still being too burdensome on staff, we can.
Yeah.
But this would be a step.
Right, any questions, comments? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded?
Nay?
Okay, motion carried, thank you. Okay, moving on to new business, item 8, enabling accessibility fund youth innovation call for proposals.
Okay, so I provided you the information on this new accessibility fund. So what it is looking for is a youth to look at doing something, and then we would apply for the funding. So this afternoon, I was actually thinking this could be something that we bring up at the public strategic plan meetings, the workshops, and see if there is any interest with the youth, to see if they have ideas, if that is something that they would like somebody wants to spearhead, and then the application didn't have to go in, I don't have it right here in front of me, I think it was October or something, so that would still give us time if we did find somebody that had some interest, then we could bring it back to the council meeting for the motion to move ahead with the funding, if that is something that you would like to do.
That's a good idea.
Okay, so that's not anything that would need a motion or anything on it.
At least for tonight, anyway. So item B, first aid training for staff.
So I did have a report on that. So we had our WorkSafe audit, and we need to all be trained in first aid. There just be 2 people here at all times, so the best way to ensure that is to make sure that all staff is trained for vacations, sick, all that stuff. So Dan DeCleva will be offering us that first aid on September 6th. It's an 8 to 5 course, so we're gonna have to close the office for that day, so it's Friday. Yeah, so, and there is no motion that will be needed for that.
And if any members of council would like to take that with us,
So I could actually, he can do a maximum of 9 at the time, so we can only do that many, so we could
probably do like
a
3.
couple, yeah.
So I guess if a couple of councillors are interested, let Sherry know, and it's gonna be first come, first served basis.
Yeah.
So when it's full, it's full. Okay, can I get a motion, please?
I, Councillor Fox, move to authorize and direct the clerk to close the office on Friday, September 6th, 2024, so that staff will be able to take first aid training.
Seconder?
I, Councillor Holt, will second the motion.
Okay, any questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Thanks, council. Item C, $400 million top-up housing accelerator fund.
Okay, so last evening in our strategic plan, there was a lot of conversations on affordable housing, purchase of land, doing various studies and stuff. So, as you know, we had applied for this funding last year and was turned down. So they are now doing a $400 million top-up to this fund. So we are able to apply if you want. And I was kind of thinking a few items that we could consider under this was landscaping and green space. We can use these funds for land acquisition. The water studies and the public transit studies. So those were all kind of topics that we had discussed. So those are things that we could possibly use with these funds so that we didn't have to use our operating or our gas tax funds for. So if you would like me to apply for it, we certainly can.
Okay.
I think we should apply, I mean, while you're doing the application process, maybe narrow it down as to what we all might want to do, but I think we should certainly apply.
Would you like to make a motion?
Find it here. Should I do it?
Top page
Oh, yeah.
2C.
Okay, yes. I, Deputy Mayor Jonah, move and direct the clerk and authorize the CAO to apply for funding through the Housing Accelerator Fund, HAF.
Can I get a seconder, please?
I, Councillor DeCleva, second.
Yeah, okay, any questions, comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Thank you, council. Okay, moving on to item D, policy 2024, frivolous, vexatious, or unreasonable request or complaints policy. Has everybody, I'm assuming everybody has got that and read it?
The CAO, let me do a quick, like a preamble for that, to let people know more about it. I can do it if you want. Yeah. So this is something that the committee tossed around a while ago, and just never really got around to it. There was a lot of other things that were happening and so forth at the time. And as luck would happen, I had a bit of time over the last month to start working on it. It is largely taken from a city in Ontario. sent the initial draft then out to the committee. It was tweaked, a couple of minor changes to it. It was originally intended to come to the management meeting for council for the last week, but that meeting got canceled. So then it was sent out over the weekend there for everyone to have a look at it. Keep in mind that this isn't a bylaw, it's a policy, so it can be amended at any time. I do think that it would be good if we could at least adopt an initial version of this, and if people want to tweak it later, we can continue to do that. But unless there's any real reasons that someone would want to really push this, and we could wait till the next meeting or even next month if we had to. But it is fairly straightforward, and like I said, it was largely taken, I won't say word for word, but very close to that for the city in Ontario. Just changed for to say Hanwell instead of where it was, and a couple of specific things that were relative to us that weren't for them, and some things that they had that we don't, that we needed to take out. Other than that, it's pretty straightforward stuff.
Also, I do a monthly meeting with CAOs from across Canada, and every one of them have this policy, and so I had received a few of them before we had passed it on to Councillor McKenzie and our governance team, and just about every one of them were just about like this. I really think that instead of reinventing the wheel, they more or less copied and pasted.
To be fair, a lot of, if you
Everybody-
web search it, a lot of them are very close,
Yeah.
so they're probably all working from an initial draft somewhere, and they just do the same thing that every other municipality does, they just pass them around, right?
It's certainly a comprehensive policy that covers, a lot of material. I would like to thank Councillor McKenzie for taking the time and researching this and coming up with this policy.
Thank you.
I think it's something we certainly need for sure. So I'm going to call for a motion.
I, Councillor Holt, move to adopt policy 2024-02, frivolous, vexatious, or unreasonable requests or complaint policies.
Seconder, please.
I, Councillor McKenzie, will second.
All right, any questions? Comments? Yep. Councillor?
So the only thing, I just wanted to make a suggestion under 1.1, and I just noticed this, sorry. This policy provides local government employees with consistent practices, and I'm just thinking that that's because we have local government here, that might be something that gets confusing. We should probably put municipal
Yeah,
employees.
but that, we are a local government.
I know, but I don't want it to get confused with the local.
DELG,
Yeah, that's the only thing that I would suggest.
it's a fair enough assessment, it's just changing 2 words to one, municipal
Yeah.
style.
And it is a policy, so.
It is a
Yeah, and it is
it's
a
not like
policy, so
bylaws.
it's not, yeah.
Yeah, so we can do that in the adopted policy, let's change that.
So this policy provides municipal staff?
Employees.
Employees.
Yeah, municipal employees. Okay.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded. Motion carried, thank you. There is no proclamations. Upcoming activities, we got the adult pickup soccer on Thursday evenings from June the 20th to August 22nd at 6 p.m. Weekly kids games Wednesday mornings from July 3rd to August 21st at 9 to 11 a.m. Senior social session Tuesday afternoons from July 16th to August 20th, 1 to 3:30 p.m. And our Strawberry Social coming up on July the 18th from 6:30 to 8 p.m. And the Blueberry Social's coming up on August the 15th from 6:30 to 8 p.m. So at this point I need a motion to go into closed session, please.
I, Councillor Heislip, move to go into closed session.
Seconder,
I, Councillor Fox, second.
any questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, we are now in closed session.